Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Navaratri 2023. The Mata comes in various forms and everybody worships her in various forms. One of the first impression of what the mother contributes to us is in the form of learning. And that is when we start looking at it, Mata Saraswati is the first frame that we look at the moment we get into a school. This is the frame that gets in multiple ways in your minds. It could be in a picture, it could be form of some of your specific teacher. Happens a lot with everybody of us, and somewhere that spirit of Saraswati remains with you for years to come. This is there for people who are regularly going to the school, happening a lot of getting into the standard normal way of life. But there are some special ones. There are some ones who face some various challenges, and these are the people who don't really get the same kind of impressions as we go along. They have their different experiences, quite a few times not a great ones, and they don't really see this aspect of Saraswati coming the right way in their careers. And quite a few times, this creates a lot of negativity in them, which takes their careers, takes their lives in very different way compared to how a normal life would progress. Today, we are absolutely privileged to have somebody who has seen this particular journey, empathized with the people who are suffering this particular part, and has been contributing significantly to creating awareness towards this particular special needs, and also taken up the mantle of not only developing the courses here in only in Mumbai but across the country, and she has been contributing at various places to see how the education can be at its very best for those who needs it. It's an absolute privilege for us to have Dr. Asmita with us. Thank you, Dr. Asmita, for taking out time and joining us today.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Great pleasure.
So how did this journey start for you?
Difficult question, right? I don't know where to begin because I can go on and on. But as a child, I feel I have a fantastic combination of my parents. My father being IS officer and mother being Montessori teacher. I had a perfect combination of parents. We all siblings, three of us. So it was a good mixed bag of understanding parents, understanding the psychology, and yet being, very demanding one. So in school and in college, nothing specific that I can mention. I was also ran kind of a person, never really was in top ranks. And basically, I feel I wasn't interested in education. That's what looking back, I feel whatever I did in the school, I was there as any middle class parents would put the child in the school, and any middle class child would go to school every day, 6 hours, 8 hours. So I just landed up there. I wasn't sure what I was doing there, wasn't interested at all. Maybe same with college as well, though I had wonderful schools and college, merit governed, but they couldn't maybe drive me along. So yeah, so after graduation, I was looking for options, and I remember my father was very keen that I do something different, and that is deep down in our systems. Hat ke kuch karna hai. So when I told him that I want to be a teacher, and my mother was a teacher, so it kind of came naturally that my father was insisting that I try for MPSC, UPSC, IS and all. But I didn't think that was my cup of tea then. Now I feel it could have been. But yes, so my mom being a teacher, she was very happy. And then at that point, my father told me that let's do something different rather than that time I didn't know general educator. So I explored and I bumped into a career which is special education. And that time I really again didn't know what disability is and what career options I had, whether I'm going to like it or not, I'm cut out for it or not. I just thought ki less number of teachers opt for it. Nobody really knows what it is. It's different. So I remember talking to my parents and telling them that it's so nice that I'm in this profession, that when I tell somebody that I'm a special educator, I'm doing special education currently that time, so people have questions to ask. If I say I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, or I'm becoming a lawyer, the conversation kinds of gets over there. So
Great.
when I say, I'm becoming a special educator, then there is so much of interest and curiosity. So that I really liked. Anyway, that was the journey. Then I did my B.Ed. And that time when I did my B.Ed, there was no M.Ed in special education in the country. And again, I wouldn't take any credit for my trail of qualifications, because that happened in my family. So I wouldn't have stopped at B.Ed anyways in any profession. So because M.Ed wasn't there in special education, then I explored, and then I enrolled into MA linguistics, then PhD, then post PhD and things like that. So I wouldn't take much credit for that. Not that I had a drive and I had ambition. It just happened with all of us, all siblings, with the kind of parenting we had. But yes, down the line, maybe after 4 or 5 years, now I'm here more than 30 years in the field. But after 4 or 5 years, I did think that, this is what I wanted to do. So I was just blessed or lucky to bump into something that I started thinking that I'm cut for this. This is what, I found my purpose, or I found my calling. But I also feel that that's the time I started liking working in general. So sometimes I feel, okay, had I been in the bank, I would have liked what I had done. Had I been, whoever I was, I would have liked, because that was the phase I was enjoying working and getting results and getting more and more creative in that. So yeah, and then I was working at the central government initially, apex body in disability. So I gained a lot of experience there. Aliya Arjun National Institute for Speech and Hearing Disability. I give a lot of credit to the organizations for whatever I learned and whatever I am today. And then around after 20 years of service there, then I started feeling a little stagnant. I was looking for something more, maybe, I don't know, maybe different again, but holding on to my profession of special education and disability management. And by then, inclusion and equity concepts were, establishing themselves, and we were responding to that quite well as a country. So then I shifted from central government to a state-aided college, Hashu Advani College of Special Education, which is an aided college and affiliated to University of Mumbai. So there was a post of principals there, and then I grabbed that opportunity because I wanted to shift my career line, yet being in the field of disability. And then, yeah, then in academics again, I don't take credit, because this is what things happen, roll out that research and publications and curriculum development. And Fulbright, yes, was a little different thing, that I was the first Indian Fulbright postdoc scholar in education of the deaf.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is it. And of course, yes, let me mention, not as a cliche, but right from my heart, that I was blessed with both the families, which were very open, educated, and I wouldn't say they supported me, because I feel that's not the way. We all supported each others in the family. So there wasn't much of struggle to grow and go beyond the set targets. So that way, it has been a blessed journey. I've been lucky about whatever I have achieved. I put in wholeheartedly for sure, but I was in a bandwidth where I could do it.
That's absolutely candid. One critical thing you got into part on basically looking at talking about equality. Somewhere along the way, I have found it very difficult to distinguish as to when you are dealing with a person with special needs or person with disabilities, right? At what point in time, how do you deal with them? Because sometimes what I've seen is that people getting kind of more empathetic. I don't really see that as an empathy per se. I think somewhere that we cross that particular line, right? There's a very fine line, and most of the time people tend to cross that line. So how do you enable people to be treated as equals?
Yeah, sometimes it sounds so simple that, what is equity? Treating everybody equal, though they are not, right? That is what at the base of gender equity, at the base of class equity. And we look at disability as one of the diversifying factors. Like we all are heterogeneous, we all are different in terms of gender, culture, likings, food preferences, and number of ways. Similarly, we all are different in terms of our abilities and disabilities. I can write with my left hand, you may not, right? So there's something, maybe you can say, recite a table of 17, which I cannot. So we all are different in terms of what we can do and what we cannot do, yet we all survive happily. So it shouldn't be actually difficult to understand that how to deal with individuals with disability, because how am I dealing with you now, in spite of we being so different? But what happens is, the age-old thinking, a mindset plays a role, and that's a real villain, we always say. So there is a lot of hesitation. There are a lot of misconceptions. There is a lot of a list in our mind about what individuals with disability cannot do.
Yes.
Actually, there is a bigger list of what they can do, but somehow we look at things what they cannot do, and then there is hesitation. And then, how do I talk if there is a child? You are introduced in the market, you meet somebody and a parent, and you say, "Hello," looking at the kid who's say third or fourth grader, and the parent says, he has hearing loss, so just talk loudly. Then immediately your urge for talking goes, you feel hesitant, you feel, should I say something, will I understand, will he be able to understand? And all that what a child cannot do comes up in the mind. So in a nutshell, if you ask me how to deal with individuals with disability, I would say how you will deal with any individual anyways. You will figure out what communication types works. You will figure out how to connect emotionally. You will figure out how to work together. You will figure out how to learn together. So if we, go by our natural instinct to be part of a group, immaterial of the diversity, then things just fall in places. But when we have deep down undercurrents of, negative mindset and misconceptions, then everything becomes little difficult.
I completely agree. This brings me to the next set of questions. So, I have also seen this particular kind of instances creating very negative mindset in terms of the kids who are suffering.
Can you repeat?
So, when you this kind of a behavior, a normal person not understanding what the special needs should be and trying to be overly sympathetic with somebody, or at point in time, sometimes it also goes a lot closer to even pity. Let me be honest about it. So, when that particular thing comes, this is when the individuals with that particular disability tend to get into a shell. Right? Getting them out appears to be very difficult. Even it's fine to say that you need to be natural while dealing with them, but not everybody is really going to get into this kind of conversation. So general experience or the general trend tends to push these kids into a shell. So how do you get those kids out of that shell?
I think we'll have to work on both the ends, empowering individuals with disabilities, and we do many things for that, to tell them that societal responses are something beyond control and nobody can really escape. So keep your drive alive. So we work on individuals with disabilities to, I wouldn't say train them, but work on them or empower them to be what they are, understand their potentials, and not get impacted by the social responses. Yes, many of them can do it. Many of them fail. Many of them really find it difficult to, face the struggle daily of the responses that the society gives. May that be teacher, conductor, doctor, nurse, layperson's neighbor, relative, whoever. We know the approaches of society are not desirable so far. But that is one battle that we work with individuals with disabilities, but we also work with various professions and society, and we expect more from them to be more accommodative. Now we take anybody who is little do not fit into our completely messed up concept of normality. So when I was growing up, I was lefty, so I was not normal. So there were people who told me, no, you can't serve food with left hand and things like that. So we all could face difficulties if we are not stereotypical, do not fit into the society. So that is what actually we need to work on, society and professionals, whether that is LGBTQ community or gender issues or class, caste, deep-rooted issues or abilities and disabilities issues. It is very simple to understand that, be open about diversity, accept everybody, acknowledge everybody, and live and let live. But that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen, and life can be really very difficult. But that's where maybe we all come into picture. People like you who work on social issues and want to give opportunities to express on those social issues, and people like us who actually work on empowerment of society. Attitudinal change is what we want, and it is changing, but not at the desirable rate. We would have wanted faster change in attitude.
I totally agree. So in this case, first I would like to understand from as an institution, when you go and train the teachers to specifically work with the children with special needs. So how does this particular training differ from the conventional training?
Okay. So thank you very much for raising this point. And this is our current mission. One of the part of attitudinal changes that we want to tell society that being a professional in rehabilitation or a special educator is a profession, is a wonderful career option, fulfilling and with high salary and pay packages. So we don't want people to look at it as a charity, and we don't want people to look at it as, poor, handicapped, I want to help them. That is a noble feeling. Initially we did have schools and services because people thought ki poor people, let me help them. But now, today world, we can't think like that. We have to look at disability up from right based perspective, from the diversity friendly society perspective. So this program BEd or DEd is parallel to what we know as general BEd. Anybody who wants to become a teacher in the country has to do either DEd or BEd. So
Yeah.
there is a parallel line of BEd and DEd in special education. Basically, teacher education has three branches: general education, that is majority, that everybody knows, and physical education, that is also little known to people. PT teacher, who is our PT teacher, right? And the third stream is special education. Children with diversified populations whose development is deviated. We don't like to use the word normal. Uh, we use the word typically developing students or children. So those whose development is deviated from the typically developing children, education of them is special education. And again, I'll use your forum to tell the youngsters and to spread the word about it, that it is not a charity, and nobody's going to tell you that why are you thinking about salary, work for society. No, 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 no. You can work for society and earn as well. So a decent living, of course, and good career options. You now today have MEd in special education, PhD, post PhD. There's so much happening, down 35 years when I did it, after BEd there was a dead end, but now it's not the case. You can pursue this career as a long-term career with a lot of benefits and of course a sense of fulfillment.
I completely agree. So with this background, the next question that comes to my mind is that do these teachers need to get into only the special schools, or they can also be part of the regular schools as well?
I'm so happy you are asking what I wanted you to ask. It's just going into the right direction, or maybe falls logically like that. Oh yes, that's one point I would like to emphasize is these special educators do not work only in special schools. In fact, India is moving towards, or has already taken steps towards, inclusive education, which simply means all types of students will learn under one roof. So we will not have everybody entering special schools. Special schools will exist. Inclusive policy does not mean closing down the special schools. There will be some individuals with disabilities who may need special schools, so that option will remain. But as a first choice, the professionals and parents and families should not think of special school. They should think of mainstream school. Again, incorrect word is normal school. So mainstream schools, inclusive schools, and inclusive policy is what we are looking into. So it's obvious that special educators do not currently work only in special schools. In fact, they are more in number in mainstream and inclusive schools, because there's a high court judgment which says that each mainstream school has to have two special educators, because otherwise how the inclusive policy will get successful, na? It's
Great.
like population with disabled children, we are pushing them into mainstream. If the mainstream world do not take them, then they'll be like neither here nor there, na ghar ke na ghat ke. Special schools are pushing them towards inclusion, and inclusive schools are, we don't know what to do with them. So that shouldn't happen. So definitely India is, and government of Maharashtra also is moving towards inclusive policy, and we are empowering mainstream teachers to accept and accommodate children with disabilities. So my students, if you ask me, we have campus recruitment as well. So my rolled out students, if you ask me, for last 5 years, I can say that almost 90% of them are in mainstream education career now. There are a few into special schools. There are a few who have opened up their own centers and doing remedial work. But yeah, they are well connected with the education world of the city wherever they are. So it's not special educators will work only in special schools.
Great. So the thing that you mentioned just right now about building up those centers, reaching out to a wider audience, wherein the uh, kids do get into the regular schools per se, into the normal schools, what we term, or the mainstream schools as you would term them, into those particular, but at the same time they have a special attention span during a particular day to overcome whatever the challenges that they are facing today. So do we have the adequate number of these corrections and facilities? I don't really see them.
Yeah, I mean, if you want one word answer, then no. But I wouldn't like to stop there by saying, no, no, we don't have awareness and facilities and concessions, because things are really changing. And there are various organizations, public sector, private sector, which is working on empowering the teachers. And there is so much of, there's so much of visibility and so much of urge by the teachers to know, okay, anyways, if they are going to be there part of my class, then let me know what it is. So on that note, teachers are quite positive. Okay, they are worried because they feel that we are not trained for this. So they still have that thing that, okay, the child is deaf, then he should be going into school for the deaf. I don't know how to deal with deafness. So that feeling is still there. But there is more willingness to work on child, and inclusive policies are leading to positive changes. Like, for example, I can just quote, last month we had a program in association with Diet, Latur, Raigad and Thane district, or I think even Nashik district, where we oriented, it was YouTube live, and we oriented mainstream teachers on disability and how to accommodate them into your classroom. And when we planned the whole, it was for 2 days, and when we planned the whole program, we were expecting first on Zoom 200, then 500, then we understood that registration is going up, so YouTube live, and then we said, no, no, we will reach around 5,000 teachers this time. And I was very happy. Okay, chalo, at least we are reaching 5,000 teachers. And you won't believe, actually 22,000 teachers logged in. And
Wow.
yeah, that is a big number. And without any, we weren't aware how to do publicity and all. It is, of course, Diet, Raigad, Nashik, and Latur play a big role. And the teachers, but they, maybe informed the teachers by circulars and all. So what we thought was, there's so much of feeling that I want to know more.
True.
And there are so many children with disabilities in the classes now that maybe they feel there's no choice. If I really want to reach out to my students, I better know what is low vision, what is mild hearing loss, what is dyslexia, and a basic information of, it's not a rocket science. Really, it's not a rocket science. It's really very simple. In fact, we don't even have to exist as a separate science. But because we took long time to accept them, there is a field of study that says that, okay, accept them now. Otherwise, it's not that difficult at all.
The next question on this particular part, particularly, I see the social structure also playing a very different or a very critical role in this whole part. Particularly, families coming from financially better background have the resources to get the required assistance, whereas the kids who are coming from financially challenging backgrounds would be finding it difficult to get the right assistance at the right time. So, how do you believe we can overcome this challenge?
Yeah, I mean, this is something, a deep-rooted concern or challenge of our country, I would say. And somehow it happens that the services are first offered to the upper middle class haves and have-nots, if we distinguish. Like simple example, I always draw this analogy. The first class compartment is always closer to the bridge and the entrance of the railway station. So you pay more, you get more. I mean, maybe there's no way out, but this is how things work. So yes, our services for individuals with disabilities are urban oriented, are technology oriented, unfortunately are English oriented, are financially oriented. So if you have a child with disability, on an audiogram, same audiogram, two kids. One is in, I wouldn't even say rural, hilly areas, but non-metro area. Maybe the parents are lower middle class. And again, gender, class, caste, so many issues we have. So though the audiogram is similar of these two kids, the life is poles apart. Because what an urban child gets in terms of opportunities, I always quote Panse sir, who's leading educationist in Maharashtra, does not need an introduction, but he had once said that education is opportunity. What is education? Education is an opportunity. So if we look at opportunities, then definitely all the opportunities are skewed. Urban population have those who have access to technology, access to English, access to money, access to networking, have lesser struggles. So, but yes, that is the reason why many public policies and many organizations, NGOs, we have wonderful network of non-profit organizations in our country, in Maharashtra also, working towards the education of children with disabilities. So all of them do focus marginalized students. And we could, if you see Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan's reports and all, so not going into quality of education, but enrollment, we have been not maybe desirable number, but there is a change in terms of enrollment of children with disabilities and dropout rate, decreasing the dropout rate. And all that has happened because we have focused marginalized population. Having said that, I am not satisfied with the current affairs anyways. Much has to be done. Much has to be done by each one of us, and I understand my responsibility as well.
Now, coming to this particular problem of a lot of this content being available in English. Okay, so what is the plan of taking this into Hindi, Marathi, and all the other regional languages?
Yeah, I mean, that is actually so unfair, but the problem is so deep rooted that suppose if I give you example of a kind of therapy, we call it ABT, which is very urban oriented services, very fruitful strategy to work with children with deafness, and wonderful results and outcome. But again, access to such therapy is limited to urban areas and mostly limited to English speaking areas, parents who have good hang of technology. That is there. So, like I said, I will not say there are no services available in Hindi and Marathi or Gujarati for that matter in Mumbai. But those are not satisfactory in terms of wherever they are and the population they can deal with. So in our college, on a very micro level, it's a small, humble setup, but a very vibrant setup, Harshvardhani College of Special Education. We focus on developing tests and tools and strategies in Marathi, Hindi. And we also work on translating and adapting good material which is there in English globally available. We also allow our B.Ed students to give their lessons in their choice of language. We also encourage, and using your forum again, I will appeal those graduates who are looking for career options and who are not from Mumbai, Pune, please consider this option. Go back to your city. And I'll tell you today in Maharashtra, services into learning disability, if you take, are absolutely absent in most of the cities. I'm not even talking about interior areas. But beyond Mumbai, Pune, there are hardly anything. I mean, not even in cities, good cities like Nagpur, Aurangabad, Nashik and all. So we want candidates to, because, I don't know how much ever we want, people will not go from here to there as a majority, as a, mainstream strategy.
Yes.
But people from, graduates from other areas can take up these programs and get back to their cities and provide services. And again, they will be able to earn and have a good career as well.
Sure. So now, getting to this bit, I would like to understand how corporates can get involved, and do you do some programs for corporate in terms of sensitizing the employees?
Yeah, so this inclusive policy is an umbrella term. For many years, we looked at it from education perspectives only, that we want the schools to be inclusive. But now, as we all understand, even our Millennium Goals talk about it, that we want inclusive societies. And for that, not only schools, but we want inclusive corporate sectors, inclusive business houses, inclusive society. So, I mean, there isn't any profession that exclusively work on uh, adulthood or social level of inclusion. So, special educators kind of extend their role, and they do talk about equity and inclusion in corporate sectors also. Because basically, whether in a school or in a college, in higher education also, we talk about inclusive policies. So whether in a school or in a college or at the employment place or in social gathering or when you travel in the train or bus, what we want is inclusive mindset, empathy, that you understand that you are different, yet I can respect you, I can like you, and I can have fun with you. So that basic mindset of inclusion needs to be worked out in public sector, in corporate sector, for the adults as well. So we do hold programs and hands-on skill developments. And if there are individuals with disabilities in that sector working, then maybe identifying their needs and orienting the colleagues and employers about their needs and how these can be addressed.
Amazing. So on this note, that now we have seen the part on the school side and also on the corporate side, I would like to have one particular guidance from you for people in general regarding when they come across this particular situation, how they should first of all hold themselves back from getting into a mindset of pity and get on a common level wherein they can see the individual as the individual is, and then treat them with equity, with equality, with respect, with the presence, even simple acknowledging the presence, that the least thing that we can do for them. How do they do that? How do we make people do that?
I know. Actually, in India, it shouldn't be difficult because we are part of diversity. We are not new to diversity. In fact, we all have taken a pledge when we entered the school, Bharat Maza Desh hai, India is my country. And in that pledge also, it talks about diversity and respecting diversity.
Yes.
But somehow it didn't sink in, we didn't take it in. So somewhere I feel, how do we treat our neighbors, how do we treat our staff, our subordinates, our maids who come home, our bosses, strangers and known people. There is a whole perspective on that, and treating individuals with disabilities is just part of that. So somewhere I feel we all must reflect that how am I perceived by the others, and how I would want that to happen So that mindset again is everybody's struggle, and not even very difficult if you open up. Like we always say, it's like a parachute. When you want to open your mindset, it is like a parachute. You wouldn't say, nobody trained me, nobody told me, nobody everybody just jumps into it, and then the mind opens, the parachute opens. That is how the mind works. I don't think there is any tip or a standard strategy to that. But one thing which I feel has helped me is mindfulness, practicing mindfulness. So be where you are, do what you're doing wholeheartedly and fully. That gives opportunity for reflecting. So, it's like if I meet a child with disability and my responses are not appropriate, it is very transparent. You can look at that child and you can look at the family and you come to know ki, I've messed up. But if you don't reflect on it and draw some conclusion, oh, okay, I shouldn't have said that. Maybe next time I will not say that. Like, for example, the incorrect word for deaf is deaf and dumb.
Yeah.
We scream all the time ki that's incorrect word. Don't say deaf and dumb, say deaf or individuals with hearing impairment. But somehow it takes long time for society to tongue train yourself. So what I feel is, had we been a little reflective, somebody telling once that that's not the correct term, you will just tell yourself, oh, okay, I wasn't aware. Oh, so you don't say deaf and dumb? Okay, next time I will say deaf, not deaf and dumb. But this reflective practices are not inculcated in our children and in our adults. So we can just give it a little thought, reflect on it, and do things mindfully. I think things will be better. And maybe I'm being more positive about it. But yes, that's what I feel. We all can own it up the way we think.
Awesome. Thank you so much for these amazing insights, Dr. Asmita. And I believe that we will end this particular conversation with a note and with a commitment that we are going to be more mindful of surroundings around us. And I think that's going to be the key for us to be more equal, more acceptable, and more being the real worthy of being a part of a growing society. Thank you so much for your time and guidance, Dr. Asmita.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A nice opportunity, and particularly during Navaratri. So there is a festive, positive mood all around, and a bit of learning here and there can always help everybody. So thank you, Charula.